Hey, welcome back. In the last video, we went over some sample questions to assess your knowledge on the deployment domain for the AWS Developer Associate exam. The first question we looked here was regarding how Cloudformation, where we can quickly and consistently manage resources with infrastructure as code. So let's jump into AWS. We're going to log to the AWS website. And first, one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to create a virtual machine using the AWS EC2 service. Then we'll look into doing this with Cloudformation. So first, let me log into my AWS account. And if you don't have an AWS account, I just recommend that you create one and you have a year of free tier resources. You may want to look into what free tier means. But once you create your account, I'm going to go ahead and log in. And like I said, we want to create an EC2 instance, which is just a virtual machine. And we're going to select a Linux machine. Okay, we're going to select the first one on the list. We're just going to pick the defaults. Okay, so when I said free tier, when you create an account and you're using AWS resources, make sure that you use for example, here with EC2 with the virtual machine, make sure you pick the servers that say free tier so you don't get charged. Okay, let's click on next. And we're going to keep the default settings here. Next, 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 and launch. Okay, acknowledge. All right. Okay, so it's pending. It's down here. All right, and the purpose of this is not to cover EC2 and what virtual machines are, but I just want to show you that when you create a virtual machine, that you have to click through the options there until you create your machine. So as you can see, if you wanted to create several different virtual machines, and let's say that you wanted to launch the same virtual machine on another region, well, you would just have to come to another region and you would have to manually click the buttons like I did. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can do this with Cloudformation. So right now I'm going to go ahead and terminate this instance. Okay, and if we click on the services here, now AWS usually changes the UI, so if you're watching this video after 2020, they may have changed it, but you may want to look for the menu that has the services, and if it's not listed here, you can also search for it. If it's Cloudformation. Okay. Now, as you come to the dashboard for Cloudformation, we can see that it says here, model and provision all your cloud infrastructure. And if you scroll down here, you have a lot of resources for you. You have links to the documentation. If you want more information on getting started with Cloudformation, if you want to know the template basics, you have more resources down here. If we read the first item here, it says code your infrastructure using Cloudformation template language in YAML or JSON format. And I'm going to use YAML because for me, YAML is easier, at least for my eyes, it's easier to read than JSON is. Now we can run this template from the browser as we're logged into the console on the browser. or we can use command line tools, which we will be doing later. And if you want to learn what the concepts of CloudFormation, you can read a little bit more about it here. All right, so we can go ahead and get started by clicking Create Stack. And I'm creating one stack, and that one stack can have either one resources or many resources. And what I mean by resource is, for example, we're going to create a virtual machine. So that's one resource. And our template can have 1 or 20 or 30. But right now we're going to get started with 1. Now, as I create a stack, it's asking me if I have a template ready. And if my template is stored in the Amazon S3 service storage, or if I have a file to upload. And I'm going to go ahead and upload a file. But before I upload a file, I'm going to have to create this template. And so if you come down here, I have Visual Studio Code, which is a free editor. And I'm going to go ahead and start from scratch here. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it ec2.yaml. Okay, so let's go back to see what's required for a template. So we're going to type in AWS Cloudformation Anatomy. And let's see what's inside a CloudFormation template. All right, you have the option to write your template in JSON, but I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, use YAML. Okay, so this is a YAML formatted template. You have the template format version, you have the description, you have metadata, you have parameters, you have mappings, conditions, transform, resources, and outputs. And if you keep scrolling down, you see that all of these are optional except for one section here, which is resources. That's the only one required. And so since that's the only one required, we want to keep it simple. That's the only resource we're going to provide. So if we click in here, this is what this is how the section looks. So we're going to copy that and just paste it in here. Okay, and so we're only going to provide the resources section. And what we want to do is, here's an example here. Let's go ahead and copy that over to it. Okay. Obviously, this is the format of the resources section, and this is an example. Okay, so the logical ID is the name of my EC2 instance. The type of the resource is an EC2 instance. And then we have properties. And then those properties, we specify the image ID property. And that image ID, let's go back to AWS here. Just going to go ahead and go back to EC2. And when we launched a new instance, we selected this first instance here, and this is the AMI for that instance. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put that in here. All right. All right. And that's all we're going to specify. So let's go back to our create stack, and let's go ahead and choose a file. Go ahead and all right, here we go. All right, and when you upload your template, what AWS does is it uploads it copies this template and it puts it into an S3 bucket in your account. All right, let's look at the designer here. And the designer is just a visual representation of what your code's going to build. Okay, so cannot render the template. Okay. Let's go back here. I think I found out what the problem was. Okay, so it says, and it's good that we run into these issues. That way we can learn how to troubleshoot. It says cannot convert the template because of an error. Unexpected token. Okay, so I think, and I just spotted the issue. The issue that I spotted was I have a quote here, but I did not close it. Alright. Okay, alright, so let's go back. Let's close this. Right? View in Designer. There we go. Alright, so that was some good troubleshooting. So we're just gonna, our template's gonna create this EC2 instance. Alright, so let's go ahead and close it. Okay. Next. Let's go ahead and give it a name. So my first EC2. EC2. Next. And I'm going to leave all the defaults here. Click next. And here's a review of my first instance. We're going to click on create stack. And if you stay on the screen, it gives you the progress. And this stack only has one resource that it has to create. So it's going to be pretty simple. It's going to keep you informed of what's going on. If you had multiple resources here, then you'll be getting a lot of lines with the progress of each resource. Okay, so let's give it a minute. Okay. Alright, so if you notice, it's complete. And I had gone back to the screen and it had launched the instance for me. And just to double check, let's learn a little bit more about this resource that it created. If you look at the resources, it created an instance with this physical ID. So let's just get the last four characters, CCC8. Let's go back to our EC2 instance. Look at our EC2 instance. We know that it is the right one, CCC8. So that's one way. That's another way to create an EC2 instance. And the reason why this is a good way to do it is because we can quickly and consistently launch an EC2 instance. And now that we've created our template, now we can go ahead and go to another region, let's say the Ohio region. And we don't have to spend time creating the template because it's already been created. Okay, let's go here. EC2. Next. Okay, my first EC2. So if you're concerned about disaster recovery, using a Cloudformation template is great because you can make all your changes to your infrastructure in this template file, and you can keep track with it with version control. And then if something happens in one region, you can just grab that template and change regions as we did and just deploy it. And so there was an issue here, and I would have to explain what this issue here is. but we'll cover that later.